Well, thank you for joining us, everybody. This is our first in a series of 4 resource fairs that we're doing virtually over the next couple of months. The next one will be, just for everyone's information, will be on May 17th. And then we have another one on June 7th and a final one on June 28th. So we're very excited to be able to provide this opportunity to look at some of the resources that are available around substance use in and around Piscataquis County, just to see what is here in our region and keep people kind of informed of the options that are available to them. I hear someone, but I feel like I might be bugging out a little bit. No? Okay.
Dr. Evans is on now too.
Okay, good. So we do have a up for grabs today, a $50 gift card. We'll make a drawing from eligible people here. A lot of people on this call are members of the organizing team for this, so we're not going to put them in the running. So at the end of this, we'll be able to provide a $50 gift card to one of our registered attendees. That's it. I'm Derek Herter. I'm the program manager for youth victims with the opioid crisis at Penquis in Bangor. We work in Penobscot and Piscataquis County. And I'm just here to kind of introduce the rest of the folks who will be speaking today. We'd really appreciate it if people could interact as much as possible, ask questions. That's what this session is for, really, to find out about what each of the presenters is offering in our communities. To begin with, do we want to start with Dr. Evans, do you think, Georgia? Yeah. So Dr. Evans, who I'm really pleased that you're here today with us. I think we're all really interested in hearing about LD 488 and the ramifications it has for our communities here. So without further ado, if you want to take it away.
Okay, thank you, Derek, for having me to be involved in this discussion today. I think all of us are aware of what's going on in our community. LD 488 was submitted by Representative Chloe Maxim, co-sponsored by myself, Speaker Ryan Fecto. I'm just trying to see who else was on there. Representative McDonald from Stonington, Representative Meyer from Elliott, and Representative O'Neill from Saco. And the reason that we decided to bring this bill forward, it's called a resolve to expand recovery community organizations throughout Maine. And the interesting thing about that is that there are similar type of recovery organizations throughout Maine. However, there are about 6 categories, 6 counties where there are no similar recovery units. And those counties include Franklin, Hancock, Kennebec, Somerset, Waldo, York, and Piscataquis County. And so, given the significant problems that we have had with drug use disorders, incarceration, inability of people in our areas to make use of those services, we feel that it's only fair that every county in the state have at least one such a facility that can promote the welfare of people with disorders, and also allow for them and their families to be involved in such programs. There's one such national program that Maine is a part of. It's the Maine Recovery Advocacy Project, and it's a grassroots network of people and organizations across Maine. And one of the priorities of this organization is to ensure that the appropriate services or resources are available to people who have substance use disorders, those who are incarcerated, who don't necessarily have the continued abilities to be treated, or they are isolated or disconnected from their families. This organization, if it's in each county, can join and or coordinate with other local organizations to make the entire program that much more functional for what the intent is, and helping people to get the resources that they need. Obviously, with the pandemic, not only have we had to worry about the number of people being affected by COVID-19, but that's also put a stress and a strain on people who have substance use disorders. So that's the intent of that bill. I suspect that we're going to get a lot of support for it, and I expect that that bill will pass through the legislature.
For example, there's been a lot of talk over the last couple of years that I know of, in Piscataquis County really needing this, something like this, some sort of recovery center. What would you say specifically? Maybe I don't know what specifics we have at this point. What is this going to mean for a county like Piscataquis that has really been clamoring for it?
It's going to mean that patients who need a treatment will not have to travel, say, to Augusta, to Bangor, just to get that treatment. First of all, they may not have the transportation to do that. I had one patient who has never missed an appointment and never been late for an appointment. And she had an appointment for one day. She didn't call, nor did she show up. That was a red flag to me. So I called her, and the reason that she didn't show up that day was because her son, who has a substance use disorder, couldn't make his appointments to Augusta. He has a 2-year-old. She didn't want to leave that 2-year-old with him, and he was in a crisis situation. So if we have those types of facilities readily available in our communities, then that offsets the stress and the anxiety and the fears that those families are going through. There was no rational reason for him to have to be put into that situation. And we have to get away from the idea that, and the stigma that's associated with people who have drug use disorders. I think, if anything, that we have learned over the last 20 plus years is that the war on drugs, so to speak, has been an absolute failure. And we need to refocus on what the important things are, and that's the health and the well-being of those people who have substance use disorders. It's a medical situation that needs to be addressed.
Dr. Evans, this is Georgia Underwood with Healthy Acadia for Piscataquis County. And I'm just wondering, is there anything that we can do to support this bill to make sure that it happens in our county and that we're not overlooked?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure Dr. McDermott can attest to this, but the advantage of us having the Zoom hearings allows more people to participate. Now, having said that, it doesn't really mean you'll know the exact time that you're going to testify. But the more people who testify at a committee hearing, the more likely that bill is going to be voted out of committee in a favorable fashion. So what I have found is that if you can do that testimony via Zoom, it tends to carry more weight with the committee because they pay more attention. Now, that's not to say that written testimony should not be submitted, because we are required to read the written testimony. But I don't think that people read things as closely, especially with the number of bills that are before us. I think that they rely much more on what they hear and see in front of them. But if you can testify in any manner, it's better than not testifying at all.
So to just a lay person like me, who I like to think of myself as fairly informed, but I do not pay as much attention to timelines and stuff like that with processes like bills and things like that. Is there a timeline at this point or is that something that we won't know at this point?
You know, you can go to the legislative work a webpage, which is archaic in my opinion. But the time of each public hearing is going to be posted. And I'm not sure which committee. Let me just see if I can. Oh.
I'll look for it, Rich. It's LD 488.
488, yeah, it looks like it's going to go to Health and Human Services. So just go to the legislative website and look under committees and
Yeah, it was carried over, but I don't see that it's scheduled for.
It's not scheduled. You're right. And the reason that it's not scheduled is because it's what's called an LD. It's a legislative document.
Yeah.
It will become scheduled when it's an LD.
No, I'm sorry. It actually had its public hearing Monday, April 12th at 1 o'clock. There were 38 testimonies there. You could probably still submit additional testimony. The work session is this Friday.
It's Friday,
at
yeah.
10 a.m.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. You still can submit testimony. So I would encourage you to
I'll
go
put the link
ahead.
to the bill status in the chat section here.
That's excellent.
Okay, great. Thanks, Dave. Yeah. So yeah, it's My committee is health coverage, insurance and financial services, but this is not before my committee. But you find yourself running back and forth between Zooms to testify at different committees. But I strongly encourage people to testify um, at the public hearing. Well, since the public hearing has already taken place, you can still submit testimony up until the day before, or even sometimes on the morning of the work session. So it's not too late. Definitely not too late.
You said that's Friday?
Work
Yeah.
session Friday morning at 10 o'clock.
Okay. Great. Anyone else have any questions for Dr. Evans before we let him go about his day?
Hey, Derek, this is Sue Mackey Andrews, and I want to thank Representative Evans for being with us. I think one of the other wonderful opportunities that we have with the Recovery Center in this region, besides serving individuals for drop-in programs and education and employment connections and so forth, is the fact that this center could also be a resource to family and affected others. For support groups and meeting locations and so forth. And I think that taking that whole family, that whole community perspective is a really important one. And Rich talked about the shame and stigma, and there's nothing more helpful than to have a place that's clearly marked and is a statement to the community that we care about folks who are affected by substance use disorder, and we care about their families. And this is an attempt to support and help them. So it's another signal that can help us to reduce that shame and stigma considerably.
Yeah, I totally agree, Sue. We've been so distracted with the stigma purposefully being applied to people who have disuse disorders, and that hasn't helped at all. It just has made things a lot worse than they need to be. There's funding associated with this, but we expect to get quite a bit of money from the state under the new recently released program from the federal government. And this would be an excellent use. You can also get grants. But, some things are more important than others. And I think this is one of those things that if you get involved and you do something about this at this point in time, you will save money in the long run. And you keep families together. People who are incarcerated, it allows them, I think they have to pay something like $15 to make a 15-minute phone call. And just to talk to somebody in their family, you can cut this down to $1.50 to make that same phone call. But it gives them some hope if they're able to communicate with their families. And you never want to take away somebody's hope. Once you've taken their hope, there's nothing else left. So if we can't do this now, we'll never do it. So I strongly hope that as many of you as possible can participate in the work session before the bill is voted on. And I think somebody mentioned in the text, it doesn't have to be long, but just be emphatic. Sometimes you just have to be emphatic and say, we're a part of this state. You pay taxes, everybody in this area, you pay taxes. And some of that money should be coming back here and services provided to the people in our community. I think the people in our community are just as important as those elsewhere in the state. So there's no excuse.
Again, I'd really like to thank you for your time today. In the interest of time and letting you get back about your busy day. I think unless there are any other questions for Representative Evans, move on to our next presenter. And again, thank you so much for.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We do too. All right. Our next presentation, we're going to move on to Denise Black and Terri Woodruff because I know Denise needs to get out of here kind of early. So I believe Denise and Terri will be talking about a recovery coaching option.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Derek, and I really appreciate it. I have a last minute appointment in Blue Hill that I have to be at 4 o'clock. So I really, really appreciate you letting us go first. Really do. Terri, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Terri Woodruff, co-director of Maine Alliance for Recovery Coaching with Healthy Acadia. I'm just going to give a little brief overview of Maine Alliance for Recovery Coaching. We started back in 2017 with some funding from the state and started doing a recovery coach program in the jail and then into the community. And then in July of 2019, we were provided some additional funding and we now formed the Maine Alliance for Recovery Coaching, which covers 5 counties, one of which Piscataquis is included. So we have Washington, Hancock, Waldo, Piscataquis, and Somerset counties. And we have a coordinator located in each of those 5 counties. And just to piggyback a little bit off of Dr. Evans, he talked about hope. And that is what the recovery coaches do. We refer to them as brokers of hope, or so they provide that for those folks that they are working with in creating that hope and having them move on into their journey of recovery. So just a little brief piece, and Denise is going to talk about our training.
All righty. Hi, everybody, and I am Denise Black, and I also work with Healthy Acadia and serve as the co-director of the Maine Alliance for Recovery Coaching, and we're thrilled to be here. And we also are trainers. We train people that would like to be recovery coaches, and then we also offer ongoing support to our coordinators and those that we train. We follow the CCAR curriculum, which is the Connecticut Community for Addiction Recovery. And if you're interested in finding out more, go to ccar.us. It's a great site with lots of information. And some of you here have taken our trainings. And, you know, Terri and I always did live trainings, and we were traveling around in our vehicles and staying in different places. But we moved to a virtual platform, as many of us have during the pandemic. And, you know, one of the biggest fears was that the trainings were going to fall flat. And we've been very pleased that the trainings have not fallen flat. And we offer, it's live, it's a 30-hour training online, excuse me, it's a 20-hour training called the Recovery Coach Academy. And it's 5 days, 4 hours a day. And really, we get to spend a week with people, like-minded people that want to find out more about recovery. Every group is different. Every group brings their own magic, their own experience, their lived experience to the training. We follow our framework of the curriculum, of course, but you know, everybody's input is what makes it so special. It's always a unique experience where we're exploring the roles of a recovery coach. We talk about building skills to develop relationships. We talk about the stages of recovery. We talk about own biases. We talk about stigma. We talk about the language of recovery. We talk about how best we can serve those that are seeking recovery. And we get a chance to practice with each other. We do some role playing, and it's just a lot of fun. And it's really a unique experience. We also do a one-day training called the Recovery Coaching Basics that we do once a month. And some of you here have also attended that training. And that's really based on the 5-day Recovery Coach Academy. It's kind of little snippets of, the areas that we cover in the Recovery Coach Academy. And that too is a great opportunity for training. And we do other trainings as well, Coach Vision and recovery coaching in the ED. And we do also recovery coaching and professionalism training and ethics. So anything else that you'd like to add, Terri?
Sure. So our coordinator in Piscataquis County is Georgia Underwood, who was also on this this call. So if you are interested in attending any of our trainings or becoming a coach, she would be the one that you would reach out to. And if she hasn't already, I'm sure she will add her contact information into the chat. But she would definitely be your go-to person. She's on the ground, she's hit the ground running, and is doing an awesome job getting out, and we'll be connecting with community members and organizations if folks want to request a coach or to attend any of our trainings that we have coming up. I guess one other quick thing is maybe if we're able to bring up we do have a map that kind of shows our the area and the sites that MAINARC covers, and that
bring it up right now.
We can also have that sent out to folks as well, along with our training schedule,
Yeah.
or use Georgia as the resource, because she will be that go-to coordinator.
I also, whoops, sorry. I also want to introduce Catherine as well. Catherine Allaby, who is a Maine Recovery Corps member, and she's working, I believe she's in Aroostook, but she is working with in Piscataquis County, and she too is on the ground, boots on the ground, if you will, doing the work. And there's the map right there. And as Terri mentioned, we will be sending out the training schedule. Well, Derek will be sending out the training schedule, but we're interested in hearing from you. Are you guys interested in finding out more about recovery coaching, or do you have any questions we can help answer right now?
And I think a lot of the time with these things, we're talking to the converted already. So I would be interested myself in hearing what is the general knowledge on this call of recovery coaching, and what have people's experience has been with it.
I have had patients who just turn it down when we offer a peer group with a recovery coach. And so I would be interested in what kinds of things we might be able to say to help people understand how it can be helpful for them.
Sure. We have rack cards as well as printed materials. We could also, Georgia could come and do a presentation at any point to your staff, or if you have a group of folks. I know in the beginning, folks aren't quite sure of what a recovery coach is, or they're a little hesitant, but they're basically just someone we meet people where they're at. So we're not required, we're not mandated. Sometimes it's just, try to explain it, is just having a cup of coffee with a friend to just sit down and have that conversation. And the coach can provide resources, link them to the resources within their county, or can even resources outside of their county if there's something else that they're looking for that's not available in their county. And we can do it over the phone. We can do it virtually, which we're doing most of our coaches coaching virtually as well, on Zoom or FaceTime, things like that. It's kind of set by the recovery. They set the pace, they set the tone. It's what they need. How can we best help support them? But absolutely can do presentations.
Can you, do you have anyone that works with family members? If
Sure.
I mean, it's appropriate then to refer a family member who's struggling with it.
Absolutely. We work with affected others as well. So it can be anyone.
Good question.
we used to go to a group that was at St. Joe's for families. And it was excellent. We have nothing that I've seen out here in Dover Foxcroft area like that for family meetings, but I was very impressed with how it was run and the people, the contribution from everyone. It was really marvelous. And I think every community should have something like that for family members who are affected and really struggle with family member.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. If you want to maybe, if I think Georgia, yeah, I see Georgia put her contact information in there, and you can reach out to her and she would,
Good,
either
good.
her or Catherine, or maybe both, can help you with that presentation or providing you with those resources.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
So my name is John Haley. I'm a nurse. I work with Marilyn here in Dover Foxcroft. Marilyn's the lady that's just been speaking. So I'm wondering, I know that recovery coaches can be affected others as well, as, or at least that's my understanding. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Do you find that with family members affected others of the actual, in our case, patient, or is it just apples and oranges? Do they just all do the same, get the same training, and therefore they can work just as well with an addict as they can with the family members?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of we do a matching process. So the coordinator will, when someone reaches out for a coach, whether they're an affected other or someone with substance use disorder, they will ask them a bunch of different questions. There may be someone who says, I only want to deal with someone who has a substance use disorder. And that's okay. Again, that's where the recovery kind of sets that tone. Who is it that they would like to work with? The one thing I can share, in going to the Recovery Coach Academy back in 2016 down in Connecticut, Denise and I were there with 30 plus people, and probably myself and one other were the only ones that were an affected other. And I felt a little strange in the beginning, like, you know, asking that question, why am I here? I don't fit. And what I got back from all the participants was, but you share, you know, the opinion and the journey of someone, of my mother or my sister. I may not have walked in the shoes of someone with substance use disorder, but I have walked in the shoes of an affected other. And I feel that we all have our own voice and we all can help as long as we're open and willing. And I think all of our coaches are very open and very willing to help anyone, whether they're an affected other or someone with substance use disorder.
Terri, I also am an affected other. And I think that it has made me more, well, better able to I actually know that understand is the right word, but maybe better able to empathize with the situations that are really out there. Because if you haven't, I don't know. It's a very, very interesting, it's an interesting position to be in. First of all, I never thought that I would be working in the substance use disorder program. And when the pandemic hit and we started moving people around to places that they were needed most, I ended up getting moved into the Suboxone program. And like, I'm totally loving it, hoping that it's turning into something permanent. But anyway, yeah, I wonder how people that either are not unaffected other or haven't had addiction of some sort are able to really truly understand what the person in recovery is going through.
a lot of that comes from the training. Taking the basics is just the first step. The Recovery Coach Academy, we really dive really deep. It's a 5-day training, and it's a 5-day training for that purpose. Obviously, I will never really truly be able to understand someone who has a substance use disorder, but
No.
I can maybe relate things that happened to me in my life to the feelings that they may have been having, or those types of things. But a lot of that, I think, comes from the training, as well as comes from coach revision. We do that monthly coach revision that Denise mentioned with all of our coaches, being able to sit down and have those conversations like, okay, I have someone who's dealing with this. How can you guys best help me support this person? So we support our coaches so they can support their recoveries. And again, I just keep going back to the training, because the training is something when most people take it. We've had law enforcement take it. After the first day, he came up to Denise and I, and he's like, yeah, I'm not really sure. By day 3, he was like, I totally get it. I am so glad that I'm here and I'm able to now kind of open and listen and hear what other people might be going through, because all of that happens during that training. There's a lot of discussion in breakout rooms, small groups. So yeah, I don't know if Denise wants to add anything.
Well, I mean, I think for me, and I've said this before, I mean, you know, if somebody has heart and cares, you know, if you are on your early recovery journey, you may be in a position where you've never had the chance for anybody to sit with you and care about anything that you were doing. I mean, I hate to say that, but it can be true, right? They've never had someone sit with them and ask them, you know, searching questions. And if somebody is willing to do that and extend that support from a caring, appropriate place, that really, like, that's the heart of the matter. Right there, caring and helping someone on their journey can be, no matter from what background. You know, I've said this before, it's only until we're all at the table. It doesn't matter if you're in recovery. It doesn't matter if you're an affected other. It doesn't matter if you're, you know, who's normal, but a normal person, right? Nobody that has a history with substance use disorder. It's only until we're all at the table that the stigma is going to be changed, and that is going to start moving change in significant ways. You know, I think everyone has a place in this work. Everyone has a place. So it's really important. Really important. Wow, I think we're at 15 minutes. We hope that you come and join us for a training, because Terri and we will make you a promise. And I bet Bob can speak to this too, right? Bob's a trainer. It is a training unlike no other. And our hope is that, and we've had many comments that it's changed people's perspective. It's changed their attitudes. It's changed how they move forward in the world to work and serve others, whether you plan on being a recovery coach or not. If you're working within a system that serves people, you know.
So that was my next question then. It would be okay to take the course and not be a coach?
Absolutely.
Please join us. You'll have
You can, yeah.
I
You can
saw
better
where
describe that. Sorry.
Doug had
Go ahead.
written down recovery coaching basics is excellent and highly recommended. And I'm thinking, you know, yeah, there has to be something for somebody like me that is, you know, I say I'm just starting out. I'm about 9 months, I don't know, however long the pandemic's been going on. I'm that many months, maybe a year into working in the field of recovery. I've always done just plain old straight out mental health, whatever. And there's just so much more that I know that I could learn, and would love to learn it. So if that would be maybe one of the places that I could do it, then
come on, you'll have a ball.
all right. Thank you for letting me kind of monopolize this. I'm going to mute myself now so I can hold back.
No, that's
Bye.
exactly why we're here.
I hate to share and run, but I'm late for my appointment. So,
Great.
bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise.
Thank you. This is Colleen Belvin at Milo Family. Started the Suboxone program there a couple years ago. So we did have a recovery coach that reached out, and I sent one patient to them. Long story short, failed out back in. But to refer someone, do we just reach out to Georgia?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
There, any other questions while we have Terri with us?
I wanted to ask, is there any Zoom group currently for affected others, like family group, that somebody could join?
I'm not 100% sure, but I can find that out for you. I know that there are, Zoom meetings for a lot of the different types. So I can find that information out for you.
I appreciate it if you can.
Yeah,
Barn
absolutely.
have one? I think the barn has one.
I thought the barn, and that's in Bangor, I believe, that they've had them for years, I know. And when I was working in Orono, I had more contact with people going there, but I'm wondering if in Piscataquis County, if there's anything like that.
Marilyn, there
Yeah.
will be in the near future. We're going to offer a group for affected others who are caregiving children who have parents who are struggling with their addiction issues.
Okay.
And so while they're taking a break, caregivers are asking for some support. So that will be starting in the near future.
And that's for adults or children?
It's going to be for adults.
Adults. Great. Okay, if you'd let me know, that'd be terrific.
Absolutely.
We can
Sure.
offer that to our folks.
Yes,
Yes.
I'd like to know also. That'd be great.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Stephanie.
This seems like a good segue. We just invoked the barn, and we've got Bob Fickett with us, who I've had the pleasure of hearing talk on multiple occasions, and I love hearing you every time you talk, Bob. So, if you want to do an introduction to what the Bangor Area Recovery Network is.
Absolutely. Thank you, Derek. And thank you, everybody, for having me here. And I just, before I kind of brag about the barn a bit, because I love doing that, I wanted to say that I was able to offer my testimony on April 12th for LD 488. And I would tell you in all earnestness, when I went to do that, my friends in Piscataquis County, my friends in Hancock County, who I see so many of you here, you were in my hearts when I was doing that, because I know how badly this is needed. I know from my experiences at the barn that having a home for our recovering community can make all the difference in the world in our regions. And so I really hope this goes through, and I really hope to see what you guys can do with that, because I know you guys are positioned for it. I know you're ready for it. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you didn't have a chance to testify, like, I was there for you guys, and I hope I got my point across. So my name's Bob Fickett. I'm the executive director of the Bangor Area Recovery Network here in Brewer, Maine. And to just really kind of summarize what the barn is, we're a recovery community organization, and our mission is to create a sustainable and reliable recovery community center that supports the needs of people who are affected by addiction. And we do that in a number of ways. And I hit on those different ways with the notation that I couldn't possibly talk about all the things that we do. So I kind of try to give an overview of it. But one of the ways that we support folks affected by substance use disorder is we provide a place. And I'll touch on the real importance of that, because I understand, of the counties that don't have a center, how important that is, and also how the pandemic has really emphasized how important that is, that the recovering community has a home. So we provide a place. Now, that covers, just having a safe place, a sanctuary for somebody who is trying to enter into or sustain their recovery, a place where they can meet other folks who are entering into or sustaining their recovery, and make those connections that are so important in recovery. It also provides a place where recovery support meetings can take place. A lot of those meetings are 12-step fellowships like Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, whatever is synonymous. And we don't forget that substance use disorder affects the family. So when we talk about supporting people who are affected by addiction, we're also talking about moms and dads, brothers and sisters, husbands and wives, loved ones. We do, Marilyn, we have a addiction in the family support group that runs monthly. I don't have the codes on hand, but if you went to our website, anybody can certainly join those meetings by Zoom and participate in that. So yeah, providing space for recovery support meetings is an important part of what we do. We also develop some programming ourselves besides, opening our doors for those fellowships. A lot of those activities are what we call pro-social activities. We have an art group, a self-care group. I think we also have started a creative writing group. Hasn't quite caught on yet, but we're hoping people will get involved in that. And then typically, pre-pandemic, we also would do larger pro-social activities, things like dances, movie nights, barbecues, holiday dinners, family gatherings. Santa Claus comes, the Easter Bunny comes, we carve pumpkins. And that's really about providing an opportunity for people in recovery to connect with each other. Because truly connection is the opposite of addiction. It's one of the things, Johan Hari, I'm quoting him, and it's one of the things I absolutely believe in, that we need to get connected with each other in order to recover. So another thing that we do is we offer like direct recovery support services. And this is what Denise and Terri are talking about, like recovery coaching. We offer telephone recovery supports. We offer recovery coaching. And I can't stress enough, just to piggyback on them. If you have not experienced this, I can't stress enough how transformative taking that recovery coach training can be. Now, whether you're a person in recovery, an affected other, or you're just interested in learning more, it's one of the things in my life that really set me on the path that I'm on. Was Denise and Terri actually trained me to be a recovery coach, and it transformed my life, and it put me in position to be where I am now. So check that out, definitely. If nobody's taken that, go ahead and check it out. And we offer recovery coaching. They're volunteer coaches. We do also have an AmeriCorps coach hosted at our site here. She's wonderful. And we offer telephone recovery support, which is what we call a brief check-in. And that's really having somebody who calls you and checks in. How are you doing? What are you doing to support your recovery? What do you need to continue to support your recovery? And what kind of resources can we offer you to help with that? Those are, as I said, brief check-ins. They usually last no more than 10 minutes. But they're great used in conjunction with whatever else somebody may be doing to support their recovery, or working with a recovery coach. So one of the things, kind of when I get to this spot, we've talked about the location and what that offers, and then the services, the support services, is I like to mention the cost. And the cost of accessing the supports at the barn are zero. We are absolutely about offering low to no barrier services to people. You don't have to have insurance. You don't have to pay anything. When somebody walks through our doors, they are a member here, and they can participate in anything we offer. So another way that we work to support people affected by addiction is through advocacy and education. We participate in community collaborations within the community to advocate for the recovering individual, and also to advocate for the recovering community. It's an important part of fighting stigma, as well as offering community education, prevention programs. We do Narcan trainings and distribute Narcan to folks. If you don't know what Narcan is, it's an opioid overdose reversal drug. that really is there just to help save people's lives. And so, you know, another thing that the barn is about that sometimes is just something that gets over. Oh, you know, before I move on, I'll actually talk about in community education and advocacy. We also dive pretty heavily, as much as we can, into promoting the work recovery in the workforce. We work with partners in the community for helping people in recovery to gain employment, get gainful employment. And also, you know, this is one of my soapboxes, is I also see a huge importance in educating our job places and our business owners in how they can become recovery friendly and what it means to view recovery as an asset rather than a risk within their businesses. So that's very important, I think. And so, you know, one of these kind of intrinsic things that happens within a recovery center that I think can't necessarily be measured, you know, through our data platforms or things is the way we empower people. And sometimes that's through recovery coaching or TRS or just that brief interaction they have with a volunteer when they walk through the door, is when you get involved at your local recovery community center, there's the potential there for you to find community, home, purpose, and wellness, right? These 4 foundational things that SAMHSA identifies as being foundational to recovery. You can find those things within a recovery community center. I say that as myself, you know, when I walked into the barn many years ago, just trying to stay away from substances for one more day, I never imagined where my path would have led me. But I became engaged in a community. They taught me, they loved me until I could love myself. They taught me self-worth. They taught me the importance of being involved in my community and giving back. I started volunteering. That put purpose within my life. It gave me direction, helped me not have so much free time, which can be dangerous in early recovery to get bored. And then they just lifted me up. They empowered me. They helped me to understand my potential. And they guided me in my personal development, my professional development. And I see that happen here all the time. I see people come in just absolutely demoralized and dehumanized and just not even able to look up from the floor. And I see them become productive members of society. I see kind of that light come back into their eyes. And I, you know, try not to use myself as an example too much, but it's my personal experience. You know, somebody asked me fairly recently, how'd you become executive director of the barn? You know, and I thought about it for a minute. And I told him, I said, you know what? I was coming in here just to stay safe, just to try to stay clean and substance free for one more day. And I was sitting in the corner of our common room. And the volunteer coordinator here at the time, she approached me. They were hanging decorations or something. And she said, Bob, how would you like to help? And I'm able to look back now and see how much that impacted me. It was such a small thing. Those volunteers hanging decorations, they were laughing, they were fellowshipping with each other, they were having a good time, they were doing something purposeful. And that simple little question, that encouragement that I got to be a part of that, it really set me on this path to understanding how I could be more, how I could impact my community and I could help. And I know that, you know, today I'm successful because of my recovery community and because of what the barn offers us. It's just 4 walls, you know. It's the people within it that really make the barn what it is. but we have those people within it because of those four walls. And that's why I understand that the recovery community having a home, it is absolutely essential. So I'll kind of, I can go on and on. So I'm going to kind of be quiet in case there's questions.
I do have to say, Bob, that every time you inspire me every time I have any contact with you. Does anyone have any questions for Bob about the barn or any of
I
the?
hear with the 30-something patients that I deal with, that is the biggest problem they have right now. We have absolutely nothing but the same old that they've done day after day. I've had a couple that did come to your barn, but the distance, they couldn't get to Brewer. They're from, this area, no way to, and we have to have something here for these people to stay straight, because that's all they know. There is nothing else. There is no local place to go and have good, clean fun and entertainment.
So the
great job.
Dover Area Recovery Network was spelled darn, which is okay. We can say we just work like the barn.
I don't have a question, but I just want to say that that was highly impactful. And I agree with Derek. I could sit and listen to you for a very long time, talk about your testimony and what the barn has to offer. And I am sure that you did us well when you testified for Piscataquis County. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I could sit and listen to me for a very long time too, Stephanie. But I try to work on that. Have a little humility.
That's good.
I have a quick question. So Catherine here in Aroostook County, and I remember being part of Recovery Aroostook, which was the grassroots organization up here. And we actually had gotten to a point where we were in the process of looking for the facility prior to the grant being written through Aroostook Mental Health Center up here. What advice would you have for those in Piscataquis County that might be part of a grassroots organization at this stage of the game?
Ooh, that is loaded question, Catherine. Thank you, and it's good to hear from you too. Hi. Yeah. So I've got a little unique experience, kind of perspective on that, I suppose, right? Because there's a little bit of a difference between such a large agency such as AMHC writing a grant and receiving the funding to administer those recovery centers. The barn had a little different experience. We were truly a grassroots nonprofit, with two part-time employees that suddenly ballooned into something so much more. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it, right? Like, it's hard. It's been difficult. My advice is, if you're starting a recovery community organization, grassroots, and that funding comes in and you're finding a building and beginning to lay out kind of how you're moving forward with that, is just like, don't forget that you're not alone, that there is a whole network. There are like 13 recovery centers in Maine right now. Of course, we're all very, very pressed and busy, but we want to support each other. The barn wants to support you in what you do. That's often easier said than done. But also don't forget you have, community partners. Don't forget that there are stakeholders in your community, people who should have a vested interest in what you're undertaking. And definitely, use those volunteer resources. I always say here at the barn, even now with the funding we've been able to receive, that we would not be able to do what we do without the volunteer program. It really is the heartbeat here of the barn. So lean on your friends. That's my advice, I guess. Did I work around that question enough, Catherine?
Yes, you did. And you hit the places, you know, being grassroots, and as we were like, I actually went to the barn. I went to PRCC to take pictures because people up in Aroostook, before we grand opened in the fall of 2018, didn't know what these centers looked like. We didn't know what to expect, what our center was going to look like. And in the meantime, in the last 3 years, like Bob said, that was 3. We had Lakes Region maybe, and there was the one in Camden coming up. And now we've got, wow, 8 more that have sprung up and throughout. So it's an exciting thing to do because everything is going to be unique and different and should apply to the community that we live in. But there are those basic things that you were talking about, the feeling of coming home and being in a place that is supportive and can meet some of the needs that you're struggling with as somebody trying to find your pathway to recovery. So great job. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I just want to point out, like Catherine just made a wonderful and very important point too about, you know, this being tailored to your community. What does your community need? You know, somebody can give me a pattern for a cloak, but I need to size that cloak to me, and it needs to be in my style. You know, it needs to be what fits me. And it's the same thing with a recovery center. I can show you the footprint of the barn and give you an idea of what we do. But it really has to be something that fits for your community and for what people need there. So it might not look exactly the same. Gosh, I hope you guys get a recovery center. I'm so like,
Yeah. I would love to see a day when there's people don't have to rely on public transportation or other like barriers, that they have something in their backyard where they can, you know, access that kind of community connection.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for Bob or anyone who's spoken today who are still here? I think we can, you know, unless anyone has any issues with this, we can probably provide contact information should you need to reach out to anyone who's spoken today. You know, that way we keep those lines of communication open. I'd really be interested in seeing, you know, with LD 488 coming down the pike, what's in store for Piscataquis County and other counties who are lacking this kind of resource.
And I'll send that direct, when Derek and I will do a little, a summary of what happened here and along with some other information, but we'll send that link out to you all.
Absolutely.
For that LD. And Bob, I did hear you speak and you sounded great. Everyone sounded great. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone for attending today. And thanks Bob and Terry and Dr. Evans and everyone.
Thank you.
Bye everybody.
Bye.